I'm Patrick McElgunn, and this is the Max Loves Midland Show.
Welcome back to the Max Loves Midland Show. I'm your weekly tour guide, Kevin LeDuc. The purpose behind Max Loves Midland is to align people, information, and momentum around a shared community vision and priorities so that Midland County becomes a place people choose, stay, and thrive. And with me today is Patrick McElgunn, or however you want to say it. I've heard it said a different way, like
McElgunn, McElcuddy. I mean, people they just start making things up.
You just got to think of like Rory McIlroy. I think we talked about that right before here.
100%.
So it's like if you watch golf, just associated with that. But Patrick is a husband, a father, an entrepreneur, and his current title over at the Northwood Idea Center is
a mouthful. Director of the Alden B. Dow Center for Creativity and Enterprise.
It's funny because in the story, I wrote it kind of the way you said it, exactly quote for quote, where you're just like, I kind of run the Northwood Idea Center, but my actual title is, and then we did the whole thing afterward.
Exactly.
The Idea Center is really interesting to me, and I remember it used to be this art gallery, I think, with Northwood, and I maybe went into it once or twice, but now I find myself in there for random things all the time. It feels like a much more community-centered space. Nothing wrong with art galleries, by the way. We're not saying that.
Right.
But it just feels like a much more multi-use spot in downtown Midland, and I love when you walk by on the street there's equipment that looks similar to this. People can come in, they can do podcasts, they can make content. You're really doing a lot of cool business development over there.
Yes, I am. It's been a great spot for me to land over these last few years, and it was the Northwood Art Gallery. And then back in, I want to say 2020-ish, they flipped it over to what is now the Northwood Idea Center. And more or less, the way that I describe it is that it's a space for me to help students start, run, and scale companies while they're enrolled at the university. That's the primary goal. But we know that entrepreneurship doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens within a community of not just people, but also a community like Midland. And so we've really opened that space up to the community and encouraged people to come in and use that space, whether it's to grab a desk, utilize the equipment that we have, or engage in some sort of workshop or meeting, whether I'm hosting it or it's being put on by, downtown Midland, or it's a communicators meeting or something like that.
Yeah, we actually hold our Max Loves Midland communicators meeting in that space, and it's been awesome for us. You and I have held so many different MyPros things there. Leadership Midland, I had a session in there. So it feels like you're kind of coming in and utilizing that in multiple different ways. What does that line level feel like for the students, though? So if I'm a student at Northwood University, what is that center to me?
So for students, ideally, again, I'll go back to, our primary goal is we want it to be a space where students can come in and have everything they need to just get started on an idea. Whether that idea is being kicked off because of a class project, or it's something that they've thought about and they have an idea, they're not really sure where to start, and they actually want to come in and get some support. We actually have a whole section where, because it's off campus, right?
Yeah.
That makes it a little difficult to bring them down here on a regular basis. The worst thing that you could do is go down somewhere and realize, oh crap, I don't have my paper or my notebook, my pens, my pencils, my sticky notes, my whatever. So we have a whole section for that. Whiteboard space all over the place. And so they can come down and they have everything they need to just begin brainstorming and getting creative. We even have like card decks that help with that process of you just crack it open, pick a card, and then just dive in and try and answer whatever question or prompt is there. So that's primarily what we're hoping for. I would say second to that is actually developing and creating more of a community space for students to engage in more kind of free flow, but intentional time together.
Yeah.
So that they can really facilitate those creative juices flowing.
I love that it puts them in a space that's highly traveled by Midlanders. So it takes them off the campus and puts them in a place that is more community-centric. Now, that's a double-edged sword for a university because you want everything kind of together so students can travel around and get to it easily. But it kind of challenges them to get off that campus a little bit and put them more into the mix. And it probably doesn't feel like you're necessarily in the Timberwolf Dome over there on campus.
Yes. Yeah. It really... One challenge of Northwood's campus, which is also part of its beauty, is that it is tucked back in the woods.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful campus, super walkable, the university as a whole does a great job of making the campus fully accessible and enjoyable to walk and traverse from class to class or to your dorm room, whatever it is. Everything's really close. But part of the challenge then is that you're tucked back behind those woods and you're off kind of to the side of Midland, so to speak. And so to get students downtown into our space, campus, but off campus, and right in the heart of downtown Midland, the number of students who come down to our space and then realize, they start looking around and they go, there's actually some cool stuff down here. Like, I know. I'm so glad you came off campus, right? And you can come and experience that. And one thing that we've implemented, I've not done as good of a job promoting this on campus as I should, and it's a priority going forward, is we've actually partnered with several businesses and restaurants downtown where if a student comes in and they book a space, they'll get a receipt. We have an online booking system. They'll get a copy of receipt in their email that confirms that booking. That same day, if they go to any one of these partner businesses, restaurants, coffee shops, and show that, we actually have a discount or a special
That's super awesome.
that they'll get that's built into those register systems. And so it's a way to try and encourage more students to not only come and use the space because now there's an incentive, but then we're able to help kind of push them and nudge them out more into the community and support those local businesses downtown and get them more engaged. And hopefully that starts to generate a nice kind of cyclical flow of they go, they experience it, they tell their friends come down, do the same thing, and we start to build more momentum.
Also, short plug, as the weather starts to get better, if you're a Northwood University student and you're listening to this and you feel a little bit confined to that campus and you're looking to get downtown, it's about a 35, 40-minute walk. Mm-hmm. I've done it on the rail trail many times. So if you are able to make a walk that long, I encourage you, get out, see what Midland has to offer, head downtown if that's not a walk that you've done before. It's really nice, and you get to pass some cool areas. There's some museums along the way. There's some awesome placemaking that's been done by the city of Midland, who's been really intentional at activating those spaces there by the water. So I just think as a location, too, Northwood can be accessible to downtown if you're willing to take a little bit of a trek.
100%. To have the rail trail run right through campus, that is an easy highway straight downtown. Spits you out at the bottom of the tridge. You just walk up the hill, and you're right there.
Yeah.
Right? Longboards, bikes, rollerblades, walking around. I mean, whatever it is, it makes it really, really easy and accessible. And it's a great way to just get outside after being hunkered down, through the winter.
Kind of poetic that it's came full circle because a lot of your experiences lead you to be able to be the perfect person for this position, really, and filling this need in our community and the stuff that you've done throughout your career. But long before that, you were just a kid in Midland.
I was just a kid in Midland.
So let's talk about that. Like, you grew up here. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I was St. Bridget Northeast Midland High. We've talked about this before, but spent my first 2 years of high school out in Rhode Island. My dad was a career Dow guy, so that took us out there for a couple of years before coming back and finishing my high school career at MHS. My wife, Shannon, came through the Midland Public School System, too. We high school sweethearts, graduated from Midland High together. And I think kind of the classic story that everybody likes to talk about, who at least those who come back.
Oh, absolutely.
Is, as soon as I graduated high school, I was getting the heck out of Dodge and I was never coming back. I wanted to go find a bigger city, something more interesting, something more exciting. And for me, for my story is, God brought me back here totally kind of against my will. I feel like I had no intention of coming back.
Thanks, God.
Yeah. And you're like, thanks, appreciate it. I'm glad you got a sense of humor. And we've loved it. We loved being close to family. We loved coming back to Midland, and I think making our place here our own. We got married right out of college that summer of 2010, and really dove into figuring out not only who we are as a couple and as individuals, as kind of newly released adults into the world, but also like who are we within Midland. Since we grew up here and we were so well connected anyways, like we have to kind of start to create and define our own identity as, as husband and wife in a Midland community that we grew up in, where I still go to the same dentist that I went to when I was in like preschool and elementary school.
Yeah.
Right. And so, which makes it fun these days. So now my kids go to that same dentist and they get to have that experience, and they get to hear the stories of like, oh, well, when your dad was little. Right. But I enjoyed it. We had such strong roots here. I see now more than ever the value of growing up in a city like Midland and then coming back and establishing myself professionally and just as an adult, as kind of my own person with my own family, how impactful and relevant and precious though all those relationships were that we cultivated growing up here.
And coming back home, you've now birthed babies, you've birthed businesses. It's been all sorts of stuff going on here.
Yep.
You've been a huge fabric of this community for quite some time now, and a lot of the modern story of what we're doing right now and how we're moving the community forward. But when you first came back, I know you were kind of working part-time at some places around town, just kind of bouncing around a little bit. You were coaching sports. So what was that initial feeling when you first came back? Were you still kind of like, actually, we're still going to go. I just am here temporarily?
Certainly was feeling a little defeated coming out of college. I was unemployed for the first 6 months. So it was 2010. There's still a lot of hiring freezes and fallout from 2008. Thankfully, Shannon was the smart one out of the two of us and got her degree in nursing. So she had her bachelor's of science in nursing. So she was far more employable than I was. But that's what brought us back to Midland. That was one of the only job offers that either of us had received was for her to come and work at the hospital. She had got some great recommendations, had a good experience, ultimately ended up working her way into a day shift in the emergency room for several years, which was great. And so, I was feeling a little defeated because I'm like, I am a little aimless and I feel like I'm not contributing. I'm not using my degree. Ultimately ended up working part-time at Home Depot. I got hired on for holiday help. So it was temporary,
Love
even
the
at that
gateway.
point. Yeah. But I ended up spending 4 years there. And it was a great spot for me to land because it also allowed me to come back and reinsert myself and get involved with the Midland Lacrosse Club. And so I started coaching high school lacrosse, freshman, and then the sophomore team the next year after that. And that really opened up the capacity for me to start thinking about what could Midland use and how could I use kind of my gifts and my talents and my passions to bring something unique to the space. And so I opened up a lacrosse equipment store in my basement. We had like $2,000 or $3,000 that we invested into it, appointment only. But because I didn't have a full-time job and it allowed me to coach, I started to see a need in the community, the greater community, right, Great Lakes Bay region, as lacrosse was exploding as a sport here in the area. There really wasn't a space for these student athletes to go get their equipment. So I tried to provide that for them. And that was me really dipping my toe for the first time into entrepreneurship and identifying a need and a gap in the area and then trying to figure out how to fill it.
You've said this about yourself. You said that one of your greatest gifts, but also one of your greatest curses, is that you've never felt like you've been exceptionally great at anything.
Right.
But you always feel like you're pretty good at a lot of things, which makes you a utility player. Whether you're on a team, they can plug you into different spots. But also, I feel that as a community member, you've recognized needs in the community and you've plugged those. Similar to your lacrosse story, you've done that over and over again in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels really great to be able to be adaptable and identify areas of opportunity where I can fill a gap and provide value, whether it's on a subcommittee or with a business or, even in my work roles and things like that. And that really it's given me the eyes to see what those are. And even if I can't fill them, I think the skill that I've been able to kind of flex and grow, right, and come into is also just trying to be a connector.
Yeah.
And if I can't do it, do I know somebody else who could? And can I connect these people and these needs together in certain ways and support that?
So what was your time at the Small Business Development Corporation like, and where were you based out of during that time period?
So I was, it was 2014. Got hired in over at the SBDC. They were actually housed at Delta College during that time.
Cool.
Now they're over at Saginaw Valley. And my boss took a flyer on me, right? She kind of took a risk, but saw my passion for wanting to invest back into our communities and help shape them in the way that I feel like would benefit everybody. And my passion for entrepreneurship and some of my, fledgling experience in that realm. And I was completing my MBA at SVSU at the time. And I got to be there for about 4.5 years, work with hundreds of entrepreneurs across the Great Lakes Bay region and beyond, and help people get their businesses up and off the ground. Again, going back to the idea of being a utility guy, I was a generalist. And I just knew that if I put my head down and did the work and approached each entrepreneur with kind of unique, inquisitive, mindset, we'd be able to figure out how to make this work for them, and see the value that they could bring to the community. So I help businesses everywhere from trucking to coffee shops, wedding planners, you name it. I probably had talked to somebody about it. And not every business not every idea turned into a business.
Of course not.
Right? But the ones that did, you saw the value that it brought and the fulfillment it also brought to those business owners, because you're not going to go into business if, one, you don't think you can provide value, and that you don't get some joy out of being able to do that for people.
And I still see you meet with people and have these type of conversations, even if it's not for an official work capacity anymore. So we appreciate you having that expertise and being here in the community. Were there any businesses that stood out to you that might still be around that people might know of that you worked with in maybe their infancy?
Oh man, that's a really great question. Fern Boutique.
Okay.
Out of Bay City.
Very cool.
That was early on, probably in the first year or two of me being a consultant. Got to support that business up and coming in Bay City. And now multiple locations, Ann Arbor, Detroit, still in Bay City, online. Really, really neat to see how that just has continued to grow and sustain, and now bring, value and joy to the new communities that they've expanded to.
Super cool. And you've taken that experience and you moved it into your own entrepreneurship. And I'm sure many people watching or listening are very familiar with Grove Tea Lounge. Mm-hmm. And your ownership of that particular space was open from, was it 2019 to 2025?
Yeah, that's correct. February 2019, and then I believe it was November 1st of 25 was our last day open.
So when that idea was coming around, it was really toward the beginning of this renaissance here in Midland of these type of gathering places. Obviously, right now we're sitting at JNC Media. Mm-hmm. They have an incredible business, but they are located in the Oshman Plaza, which was revived primarily by Live Oak and the great work of Aaron and Renee Decro. Also, last week we had Ben Marchand with Creation Coffee. It's now one of the biggest roasteries in the state, but you all were kind of brewing these ideas right around the time frame together, and we're right across the street from Grove Park.
Yes.
And I thought it was extremely interesting that I just found out yesterday that Grove Tea Lounge's name is inspired by Grove Park.
By Grove Park. Yeah. Interesting to see that so many of us were identifying, I think, a similar need for some placemaking, third space.
Yeah.
And identifying that coffee and tea, like food and drink, right, is what we naturally gather over, right? So in some ways you kind of go, not surprising that that's the form that it took for a lot of us. Interesting that we were all doing it roughly around the same time. But yes, to your point, we had been looking for a space for a while, and the Bricks real estate building became available. I think it was a chiropractor, maybe something like that prior, and it was for sale. And we had actually looked at that space as a potential spot for us to open. Being on Ashman, heading right downtown, kind of on a main drag, like all those things were attractive to us as we were looking for a space. And it was around that time that we also started seeing things crop up that something was happening in the Ashman Plaza. It just had brown paper in the windows at that time. We ultimately decided that that building across the street was not going to be a good fit for us space-wise, the amount of work it might have taken us to make it usable as a tea lounge, coffee shop, as a cafe.
And it's been cool as bricks, so they've done a great job with it.
Yes, 100%. But we looked at it and we're like, man, how great is that you could have a space to come, get food and drink, and yeah, maybe we don't have much of a property, but it spills out into Grove Park. And at that time, we were looking for a new name. We had a working name that wasn't great. We realized after the fact that it didn't serve us well. And so we're like, well, if we go here, that's Grove Park. Tea's grown in a grove, right? We're like making all these justifications. We're like, we could be Grove Tea Lounge. And the leaf symbol, the emblem that we had, was more or less in the shape of an S. And my buddy Joe was able to rework it so that it kind of had the letter G hidden inside of it. So he changed some of the angles and figured it out, and it worked. So it just kind of stuck.
That's awesome. And at the time, I was living at Mulberry Lane Apartments, and it was so great to just have a space move into that area, because And it was a cool old building. Like, you're looking at a bank, and it's been kind of remade into this thing.
Right.
And, like, I'd never seen anything like that before. So we just walk right across the street and get tea, which was just awesome. And I know that it's cool that that building continues to carry that ability to be a neighborhood spot on. Ironically, once you guys decided it was time to graduate from that portion, I think you did it in such a respectful and cool way for the community, too.
Oh, thanks.
But when it crossed over to be another Live Oak location, they get to carry that legacy on now as well. So it's cool to have that live within its vacuum, and then you guys move on to your next thing.
Yeah, there was a lot of concern from our customers of like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
What's the space going to be? Once we announced that we were going to sell, and there's a lot of reasons we chose not to make the announcement until we had kind of crossed the T's, dotted the I's. We made sure everything was in place, and we worked really closely with Aaron and Renee on that, which was great. Couldn't have asked for a better family and a better company to come in and take over the space to continue to serve that neighborhood, and the community in general, and just carry on the legacy that we were able to at least start in that building and breathe some new life into it after it being a chemical bank. And even cooler to see it being recognized, in the new Mid-Century Modern book that just came out, right? And to know that we got to, again, breathe new life into that space, repurpose it in a way that the community can come in and use it on a regular basis. And now I'm really, really pumped to see not only what Live Oak has already done in the short amount of time that they've been in that space, because it's absolutely gorgeous. What they've done, it's fantastic. But I know that they have vision for the outdoor space as the weather gets warmer. And I'm really, really excited to see what they end up doing with it. Because Renee and Aaron and their whole team, they have great vision. They execute just, perfectly. So I think everyone's going to be really, really excited about it.
I definitely want to touch on the outdoor space here in a second, because we're going to talk about the MyPros Community Crowdfund and the role that played in Grove Tea Lounge. But even before that, so you're owning this business, and it was a partnership, correct, between you and Shannon and another couple, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So good friends of ours, Joe and Aaron Rivard. We were friends before the idea even came about, and they were just, the friends who were nice enough to put up with all the random ideas that I come up with, and one of them finally kind of stuck, and they were like, yeah, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. But as a part of that, you employed so many young people in the Midland area, and a lot of times it might be somebody's first job or maybe second job or first job, maybe in hospitality like that. How did it feel to kind of be a center of, and I'm sure it was challenging in some days, but how was it to be a center of really talent development and retention?
It's so funny. For as much as I'm engaged in those conversations, I never thought about it in that way, right? In that kind of like formalized manner. My goal and our goal as a whole was, we knew exactly what you said. For a lot of our staff, this is their first real job.
It's just the nature of the work too.
It is, right? The type of work that it is. A lot of high school and college age students. We certainly had staff that came in that were, later in their 20s. Some of them, this was a second career for them after they retired, something like that. But our goal always was to set them up for success so that when they left Grove, because we knew they were going to leave Grove, we had no expectation that this was going to become their lifelong career, right? But when they left Grove and moved on to that next thing, whether it was college or the next part-time job or their first step into their career, as a salaried full-time position, that they were equipped to succeed, and that they could learn, that we could hopefully impart as much as we could on customer service, on accountability, professionalism, dress, like all those sorts of things that they could carry with them into their next job and just set them up to succeed in whatever that next step was.
And a part of your journey was also the MyPros Community Crowdfund. And even before we talk about the impact that had on Grove specifically, you were around for the inception of the crowdfund. I've been around really for the last 5 or 6 years, but it extended even beyond that into some initial conversations that really brought this up as a need for our community. And we've had Brandon Morey on the show last year when we were doing the crowdfund. It was just great to hear how that's going to impact his business on Townsend, and we're looking forward to that project really getting underway this summer. But what were some of the original visions behind the MyPros Community Crowdfund? And for those unaware, MyPros is Midland Young Professionals, a group of young professionals,
Yep.
Initiative based out of the Midland Business Alliance.
So I was still a consultant at the Small Business Development Center at the time, and I very vividly have a memory of me, Grant Marshall, and Nicole Wilson sitting together in the front portion of Live Oak having this conversation one afternoon, where I believe Grant was the one who originally brought the idea of a crowdfund up, and the conversation really revolved around the broader conversation that was happening in the community at the time of how do we attract and retain young talent into the Midland community. That conversation is still ongoing. It's still very important, right? Has expanded more broadly to, attract and retain just talent and great people, right? But at the time, that was the heavy push was young professionals. And as we were having this conversation, what we really came up with was, well, if everybody wants to know how to do that, how do we put maybe a little more power and a little more say into the hands of the young professionals? And what better way to do it than through MyPros and let them vote with their dollars? And what would that look like? And I believe through that process that we got connected with Patronicity because of the Midland Area Community Foundation and their prior experience with that. And it just kind of blossomed from there. But the initial question was, if everyone else wants to ask that question and try and figure it out, how about we just tell them and give a little more say into the hands of the young professionals themselves and let them vote with their dollars to decide what sorts of businesses and amenities and other things they want to support monetarily.
And we always use Grove as one of the great examples of what we were able to do through that crowdfund. So you mentioned the outdoor space that's over there. It's such a great physical example of what the crowdfund can accomplish. It's a really clear goal. Your experience in that space allowed you to have a really good outline of what it could look like and what the crowdfund could accomplish. And you guys were funded within like a day. And we're not saying that because sometimes these will go on throughout the month.
Yeah.
But you just had such an engaged base and you knew how to engage that base and talk about that particular project. So how cool is it that space is going to continue to carry on that legacy in a similar type of organization?
Man, I'm so proud of that. That it was able to stay, and it was an amenity that we created with the full backing and support of the Midland community, Midland Area Community Foundation, Midland Business Alliance, and all the other partners that helped put that on. That it didn't go away when Grove went away.
Yeah.
Right. And that it could continue on and is adaptable and still a great space for the community to come use. And again, going back to Live Oak and what they vision and their ideas for how to utilize that outdoor space, the patio, the fenced in courtyard area, the playground. I just know Aaron and Renee and their whole staff, they have such a heart for our community as a whole that they're going to do far more with that space than we ever did. I'm just happy that through the support of the community and the crowdfund, we were able to lay the foundation for that. And then they're able to continue on and make it even bigger and better than what we could.
And we have so many other great physical examples as well. I look at that outdoor space at Three Bridges, which is absolutely packed all summer long, every Friday and Saturday night. Just wow.
Yeah.
What a great example of what can be accomplished when young people and really the entire community comes together as a whole to say, we believe in this idea and we believe in this decision by this subcommittee of Midland Young Professionals. And it just feels like a really good symbiotic relationship between our young professionals and our established community members of saying, we believe in you, and us saying we want to be responsible in this space as well. Because when the community rallies around a project like that, you've already spent your own money to get it up and started.
Right.
But now this is the community for very small kickbacks. I mean, incentives are awesome and they're fun to have, and it's a traditional part of a crowdfund, but they're not matching what you're putting in, obviously, and that's the whole point. So it's great to get that experience back in return. And you continue to serve on the MyPros crowdfunding subcommittee along with myself and a great team of people that are working on this year's particular crowdfund. So as it's changed over the years, what's been cool for you to see and how it's switched and how it's been really evolving as time has went on?
That's a good question. I would say I'm extremely proud of the subcommittee as a whole, and as new people have come in and, others have stepped away because they've either moved or moved on to, other roles and things that don't allow them to be as involved as they'd like to be in a more formal capacity. We're constantly asking ourselves, is what we did last year, like, does that still work this year? And what is the ask from the community? What is the ask from our partners? What could this really be and look like? And being very intentional in how we make those adjustments along the way. And we've seen that, right? We've gone from one crowdfund to two crowdfunds simultaneously happening to now we've even evolved that further to adding a pitch competition aspect to it, some voting aspect to it. And now the projects and the funds available are significantly larger than what we've ever had for a single individual project.
And we appreciate everyone that's given to those as well, because
Yes.
we've learned a lot along the way too. So as you talked about going from 2 to 1 and the scale of these projects, we've also had to reevaluate how we position the crowdfund. What kind of contracts we're putting in place. What are the dollar amounts? What are these asks? It's a real conscious thing that we're doing. And we're not saying we're always doing everything perfect, but really proud of where this committee has came.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And as these projects, the scope or the scale gets larger and to meet kind of the dollar amount that's available, right? We know that a 7-hour crowdfund that's not going to happen. We're not going to see that. We know that we give these projects 30 days because we know that it's going to take that time to get the word out. People forget, right? And we know that the timeline for those projects being completed, because they are on a larger scale, it is going to take a little bit longer. And we've had those conversations about the challenges of communicating that with everybody and managing those expectations. And we take that very seriously, right? So super proud of to see those evolve. Really love to see how excited our entrepreneurs and business owners get when this opportunity comes back around every year. And the creativity among these entrepreneurs and the applications we get. People don't see the number of applications that come in every year and the project scopes and the pitches that we get. It's hard to pick sometimes.
Absolutely.
It really is hard to narrow that down. But to see the ideas that people have and knowing as an entrepreneur myself, as a consultant, right? It's time and money. Those are the scarce resources. And if you can get access to one or both of those to make a project come to life, we can significantly shorten that timeline for them to actually make that a reality and provide a lot more value to the community. And you can see their passion, not just for their business, but for the value they bring to the community and to their customers. And as a crowdfund recipient myself through Grow for the outdoor patio space, there's a huge emotional aspect to seeing people vote with their dollars. It's not like, oh, great, now I can afford it. It's like, oh no, you trust me enough to volunteer your hard-earned money to support this idea because you see the bigger picture, and it validates that we're on the right track and that we're doing the things that we hope to do and serving the community in the way that we hope to serve the community. And in some ways, it's very emotional in that regard, in a great way. And so I hope our entrepreneurs, and I know many of them they've expressed it. They take some time to sit with that and really feel it. And we don't take that lightly.
Absolutely. And as we're talking right now, when this episode comes out, we'll be kind of in a middle period of where we've had in between conversations with a lot of these applicants, and we've set them up we're going to set 3 of them up to come back to a pitch competition at the Northwood Idea Center, or as some people refer to it, the New Idea Center.
The New Idea Center.
The New Idea Center, the NU Idea Center. So they'll be having a pitch competition. I believe it's on March 20th in front of a group of young professionals who are going to assist with helping make that decision of which business is the beneficiary of this year's crowdfund. And we're really looking forward to that. So everyone keep your eyes peeled. We're going to be having that full campaign going on throughout the month of April. It should be a lot of fun. We have no idea what the project's going to be yet. So even us talking right now, we know it could be one of many different things. So we're excited to see what that's going to be. And hopefully when people reflect on this, they'll be able to say, oh, they were talking with a lot of passion, and then this is what that project became. And that's what's so much fun is these final outcomes of saying, wow, look at what we were able to accomplish. Really looking forward to what Down Townsend's going to become. Yep. So excited. We talked about Grove's outdoor space, but these places don't just exist for you and I and young professionals. they exist for all ages, and especially that outdoor play area. We saw value in that as a place to gather for people, and obviously your kids grew up kind of on that playground as well, and
Yep.
you have 3 of them, correct?
3, yeah, 9. What are they? 7, 9, and 11.
So they're inheriting these spaces as well as community members. But I want to talk to you about Midland when you were a kid versus when they're a kid.
Sure.
So, like,
yeah.
what does that look like for them versus what it looked like for you? But also maybe just your appreciation for the community as a father instead of somebody consuming it and at a young age.
Yeah. So I would say first and foremost, right, the most tangible thing is being able to look at the community through different eyes as an adult, as someone who grew up here, and now as a husband and a father, right? I see the community differently than I did growing up naturally, right? But at the same time, it makes it really easy to see it differently because of the work that so many have done before us to make Midland was what it is, and get it to the point and continue to grow it. Now that you and I and others, right, are stepping into those roles and participating in those conversations, the parks have always been amazing, right?
Absolutely.
And that has not changed. They get updated, right? They adapt. Grove Park is a great example of that, right? And so certainly as more people, both the kind of the corporate side of things, right? The larger organizations that come in and invest in our community, like the Hobby Lobbies and, the franchises and other things like that, they provide a great solid foundation and extremely important to a thriving community. But the individuals who feel like they have a place and the ability to come and open a business here and serve the community in different ways, just continue to see that grow. And we see so much more investment in Dow Gardens and Whiting Forest and the Center for the Arts, right? And I know I'm going to forget a whole bunch of other ones, but everybody else that gets included those, I think of those because I drive by those almost every day on my way to work.
And they're institutional staples here too.
They really are,
Yeah.
right? And they provide so much for so many. There certainly is way more available now than what we had when I was growing up here. And so it's a both and, right? Different eyes to see it through, but also knowing that there's also more here that serves our community in so many more different ways that, loves on people more in different ways. And we get to stand on the shoulders of giants, right? I think and we're very blessed to be able to do that and be in a community that, we are the city of modern explorers, right?
Absolutely. And now, as you continue to explore the city as an adult, I mean, growing up, you were always sporty. You were into different sports and you had things going on. And later on, you were coaching lacrosse. So what kind of stuff are you still involved in? Are you still going out and doing like any sort of CrossFit? Like, where are you sitting at right now?
So, just had back surgery in November. So, like, just now dipping my toe.
Oh, we are
back
men of a
into
certain age now, aren't we?
Yeah, I feel like it's showing. That's why I keep my hair short, because then no one can see all the gray.
Oh, there you go.
Getting into CrossFit again. That's kind of been my sport and activity of choice to keep my body moving. And haven't been able to do that for a long time, even prior to back surgery. But getting back into it, love the community that's fostered at our CrossFit gym here in Midland. But a lot of my free time is being involved in my kids' sports, right?
That's cool.
And their activities that they love to do. So, my son he's baseball, football. That's
cool.
it, year round. So being part of Michigan Made, being part of Northeast Little League. My daughter does competitive gymnastics over in Freeland. And then my youngest, she's literally tried everything. She's kind of like the classic sideline sibling. So she just kind of does what everybody else does. So she's done flag football, she's done gymnastics, she's done softball, she's done tennis. She wants to try soccer now for the first time. So she's just kind of all over the place. But that has become, my hobbies have become supporting and participating in my kids' hobbies.
That's so cool.
Which is really cool. And then still, trying to prioritize and find time for date nights with Shannon and make sure that, we could still be husband and wife as much as we are parents and, maintain both of those identities at the same time. So it's fun. I'm in my glorified taxi era now.
Yeah, you guys are always on the run too. And I see that all over the board too, even talking with Josh and China here at JNC and their kids, and they're always bouncing around and people are kind of always moving and shaking in different ways. And I don't know how you guys do it. Admire all the local parents. Thank you for raising the next batch of Midlanders
Amen.
here. So if somebody was visiting our community and you were looking to plan a day for them, and I didn't prep you with this one, but I'm just curious, what kind of day would you put in front of them and tell them to go do? You've already mentioned some great spots here in our community, but what are you like, hey, here's what I would do if I were you? And it could be any season. It could be people with kids. It could be people without kids, however you want to frame this.
Man, all right, that's a loaded question. So it's funny. So we have these conversations, right, in some of the committees that we sit on as we talk about this a little bit. And, first and foremost, the hope would be that we talk to them about what are the things they enjoy doing or their family enjoys
getting
doing.
To know them.
Let's get to know them. Let's figure that out. It's easy to point out some of the staples that we've talked about before: the Center for the Arts, Dow Gardens, Whiting Forest, City Forest, and the campuses. Obviously, the downtown area is fantastic. And so I think if I were to kind of walk them through their day, I'd love to take them downtown for like a breakfast or brunch somewhere. Maybe it's over at Cafe Zinc.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's over at Crepes, right? Grab something great to eat for breakfast or brunch. Grab ourselves a coffee, maybe from Espresso Milano. Walk and check out the shops, right? Because now you're right downtown. We can hit the Tridge and the parks, and then from there, let's go find ourselves a lunch spot. Let's go maybe walk through City Forest a little bit. Especially if it's nice out, let's hit up, especially if it's coming in the future, let's go check out the new Welcome Center at Dow Gardens and go walk through the gardens. I feel like that's a place that you only see, like Frederick Meyer, right, over in Grand Rapids is probably one of the closest things that you could compare it to. And think about the city the size of Grand Rapids versus Midland and that we've got something so comparable. Let's go check that out. And
also, a lot of their visitors come from like 2.5, 3 hours away,
which is wild.
Yeah, and I've heard that statistic in different ways. Maybe it's like 2 hours, but either way, like they have a lot of people that travel up here just for that.
Right.
So hopefully, we're getting them to stay in their community and go to some of these other places too. So
absolutely.
So yeah, after they go to the gardens, where are you taking them off to?
All right. So after they go to the gardens, we're probably gonna go hit up. I would love to. We're getting to lunch. Would love to take them over to maybe Vidu or Blossoms, right? Or something. Show that we've got some good culture from a food standpoint that people are bringing, which is awesome. I love it. And then I'd love to go catch a game, whether it's a high school game. We got Bullet Creek, Midland High, right? Dow High. Maybe it's going to catch a Loons game, something like that in the evening. And then after that, maybe let's go find a place to grab a nice cocktail and we'll kind of wind down and hang. If it's the summer and the streetscape is out.
Oh, yeah.
Can't beat music, right? And I know I keep coming back to downtown. Maybe we're going to go get a workout. We're going to go to CrossFit Jack Pine. We're going to go to Allie's place,
there
right?
You go.
And get some pound on or something and, and just explore, move our bodies, see the beauty that our community has just in its natural beauty. And then let's go explore some of the cool, unique facets that you're not going to find other places. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, and this is more related to the coffee shop piece, right? With my background with Grove. I've been to Chicago, I've been to Detroit, Grand Rapids, Tucson, Arizona, Phoenix, Orlando. I always try and scope out what's the cool, unique coffee shop, right? And I go and try them. I'll be really honest. Nobody holds a candle to the quality and uniqueness of the coffee shop scene that Midland has. People are sleeping on coffee shops in Midland and they don't even know it. I have not found a place even in some of the largest cities out there that we've traveled to that match the quality and the craft that our shops bring.
Yeah,
to the area.
The roastery here at Live Oak is incredible. Creations Roastery is one of the largest ones in the state.
Yep.
The coffee at Sergey's is insane. Mm-hmm. You mentioned
we care about our craft.
Yeah,
here.
You mentioned Milano. I love Milano as a classic downtown coffee shop.
Dude, first wave, baby.
Absolutely. And anyone I'm missing, I apologize because there's so many great spots. Boomerang's expanded in so many different ways, and they have a new location on Saginaw. It's just really awesome to see these places move and shake in different ways. So it's been a great conversation. I always end these conversations in a very specific way, and we always like to look forward to the future. So looking forward at our community vision and I like to end with the question, if you think about Midland 10 or 20 years from now, what are some of your hopes and dreams for this community?
Two things that come top of mind. First is that my hope is that kids, like my kids, right, as they grow up here and they have an opportunity to go out into the world, that they have a different mindset than I had, and that they really look at Midland as a viable place that they would enjoy coming back to as an adult and living here and working here. And their hope and dream is not, I'm getting the heck out of here and I'm never coming back, right? So that we create a space and a community that they love and value, and they see the upward trajectory of that and the investment, and they want to come back and be a part of it. And that Midland is a real city within those conversations of a place they feel like they could land sometime in their adult life. So that's one. I'd say two is that people that people here, and as they move here too, look at the space and are encouraged and inspired to invest in the community, just like you and I were, because of those who came before us. And that group of people continues to grow, and we see this groundswell, that it spills out over just being on a subcommittee, right, or whatever, and those are important, but that it becomes much more natural and ingrained in just everybody's life, that we all see ourselves investing in our community in different ways, and that breeds more small businesses, more entrepreneurs, and that we continue to support those, and that they know they have the support when they come in and start identifying what they could build here, and they go, well, why wouldn't I? Look at all the support that I have, both from friends and family and community members to institutional and other organizations and finances, and even if they fail, right, that there's a safety net for them that's going to encourage them, help maybe retrain or whatever they might need to go into whatever the next business is or that next career step is.
Awesome. So Northwood Idea Center, tell the people how they can learn more.
Best place to go is northwood.edu. We've got a webpage there. But we're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 8. So come stop in anytime. Would love to chat. If you've got an idea, let's sit down and talk. We got a lot of exciting things happening with the students. So even if you don't have an idea and you just want to come see what's happening and get inspired, come downtown. We're right on the corner of Ashman and Main, right next to Grazie.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And thank you guys for being with us as well. The Max Loves Midland Show, we've had over 30 episodes now. Make sure you're hitting the back catalog, watching all of those great stories of Midlanders. We're really building an awesome human library on our site. Check out our stories section as well. There's all sorts of great stories from everything from our focus areas, childcare, housing, people development, and retention. Check those out. Also, a lot of great economic development stories as well. Head over to our calendar. We've had over 6,000 events posted on that calendar. That's over 6,000 opportunities for community members to spend some time with one another, get to know one another, build an emotional connection to this place. You can find everything from daytime line dancing to Survivor watch parties. So whatever you're into, you can find it on the Max Loves Midland calendar. And as we always say here in Midland, if you build a bridge and it doesn't work out, build a tridge. Thank you, and I will see you next week. Subscribe wherever you consume media. Max Loves Midland is your entertainment, resources, and collective improvement hub for Midland County. Plan your next adventure in Midland at maxlovesmidland.com.